What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kane's Insight Daily Podcast, powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Second show of the day, my favorite show of the week. It's Wednesday. We got Mike Ryan, we got Peter Rees. Hop him in a second. Always shout out to Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Kind of on time, 12:32. It's about 2 minutes late. We're chilling. Let's might as well just hop him in. Mike, get in here.
Howdy, boys. Howdy. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody is all right. D-Money, I want to start this off with an ad because I'm sorry to admit this. I'm a bit ashamed.
Oh, we get paid for this ad, by the way. Go ahead.
I'm a little ashamed. I was hungry. I wanted to order lunch on a service. I couldn't leave the house, and I had a bowl delivered to my house. Not that kind of bowl, D-Money. Get your head out of the gutter. A Cuban protein bowl from a competitor of our proud sponsor, Islas Canarias. And I'm ashamed, and I'm paying for it right now. I got what I paid for. It takes a special skill to make Cuban food bland, but this establishment found a way to do it. And I regretted every bite. I should have went to the Dayland Dining Pavilion. I should have went to Islas Canarias. I should have taken my car straight to Croqueta County. I'm living in regret.
Took the easy way out, the lazy way out.
I did. And Islas is available on certain services, but I was in a hurry. I wanted to make my customary 2 minutes late time here on Kane's Insight. I took the easy way out. And if the Canes taught me anything over this winter, it said sometimes you got to do things a hard way to get to maximum satisfaction. I am here a humble man, ready to admit to you and the nation that I should have went to Islas Canarias.
Yeah, you know, how you do anything's how you do everything. But lesson learned. I'm glad this is like an avant-garde way to do ads. This is real innovative.
Yeah,
the anti-ad.
Yeah, the negative testimonial. The negative testimonial from a competitor. I'm not going to say this place because I also want to keep our options open as a small business investor. But the headline here is, if you want a bowl, if you want creme de la creme Cuban food, if you never want to have to worry about whether or not your Cuban food is seasoned, take your butts over to Croqueta County and have some Islas Canarias. That one's for free, D.
There it is, in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. And coming live from, I want to say Glenvar Heights, but actually from the edge of Coral Gables, Peter Rees. Hop in.
Listen, my friend, ain't no edge when the driver's license says Coral Gables, baby, and you got that Coral Gables zip code. As I've noted out before, you made the astute observation / pose the question to me of, you know, am I looking up for the street signs or down? And I told you I refuse to answer that question because I'm going off of what the ID says, man. So it can be characterized one way or another. But I know where my feet are planted right now. Mike, speaking about no easy way out, I'll tell you what. You get locked in a cage match with a Jay Lucas coach ball club. There's no easy way out, my friend.
There ain't no easy way out, as we learned in Mario Cristobal's very comfy confines of Canesville, Florida. Yeah, that was another TCB. Dude, look, the North Carolina signature win, that was something. Winning at NC State in comeback fashion. I know we hit a little bump in the road with Virginia, who appears to be a very good basketball team, by the way. I was really impressed with them. I mean, the shooting from the outside was unstoppable that day. But I'm more impressed with stuff like this, because these performances where you can go on the road and look, as embarrassed as we were about that FSU loss earlier in the season, Pete, FSU has kind of come online a little bit. They've been playing
quad
better.
One loss. It's a quad one loss, my friend.
Yes, sir. And we've got into this, so I'm not going to harp on it, but the last 2 years were kind of barren wastelands of effort, you know, and it kind of, there's a reason why Coach Larinaga retired, even though he's an absolute legend. To see the way that this team, I'm sorry, I just realized that my microphone's not plugged in. I'll switch us on.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I wasn't sure if I was.
No, I appreciate
that. Find out who the radio pros are on this show. Very quickly.
How you do anything is how you do everything. Apologies for that. But to see how this team goes into games in which they're expected to win, and games that if you follow the sport, you have to respect the opponent here. This is a difficult spot. They're playing good basketball right now. They do things that can bother Miami. To still come out with a dub, it's those kind of performances, the not so sexy ones, the ones against Virginia Tech, the ones against Florida States. Those are the ones that have me super encouraged for this staff and this team in particular. I hope we can keep them together because as I know the nature of college basketball is such that you're worried about guys like Shelton Henderson, who appears to be fine after that injury. But every week I'm coming here and I'm waxing poetic about the job that Jay Lucas has done and the preparation that this team has. I'm just blown away by it.
By the way, Pete, switching the subject slightly, I looked at your thumbnail for this show, and it was expertly done because I see a lot of guys in suits talking with mics, and then I see Mike's face on the side, and I think we might get caught up in an algorithm of some like political talk inadvertently, just because of the way the thumbnail was put together. I looked at it immediately, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, what are we talking about on this show?
I mean,
thought we were
did you
talking
see
about
what it
Canes
was?
football, and then it was the roast of Mario Cristobal and Kirby Smart there at the award ceremony up in Gainesville. So, Mike, we did a show on this, me and Pete, just talking about with Amon Richards. We all kind of liked it. We enjoyed the back and forth. Thought it came off like two friends roasting a little bit, and I think college football fans liked it. What was your take on the roast between Mario Cristobal and Kirby Smart?
I thought both were great. And you can tell Mario feels good about his team because he's a different dude. Mario's comedic timing is really, really good. Like, legit. He even hit him but seriously, folks. Like
the cadence, dude. I'm telling you, the cadence of how he was like setting things up and letting things simmer.
He was looking to stage left to see how much time he had left in his set. That was incredible. Both guys had really funny barbs. And, like a lot of that stuff, even though it's been percolating in Mario's dome, like he knows his record against the SEC. He knows that final score at the Swamp. Like, he's ready to go. These are all things that he probably said internally, so he didn't really have to search his brain for this. But these are all rebuttals on the fly. Like, he's not writing his material on his notes app before he gets in there. He had no idea what he was signing up for before Kirby started landing some haymakers. That was legit funny. I experienced it for the first time, like live on the Levitard show, and it was like legit cracking me up. Like, those were great lines, and you love to see it. Is this a sleeper banger event? The Spurrier Foundation Awards. This was awesome,
dude. I'll say this too. What I think a lot of people didn't catch there was that it was all sparked by, I think, some comments that Mario made privately to Kirby that Kirby didn't like. Kirby decided to put things out there. My favorite thing that was said, and Kirby was the one that brought it up, was Mario telling him that he's been eating too many carbs.
He says a Lane Kiffin joke.
And says that he needs to eat more protein or needs to drink more protein shakes. That's what I think set Kirby off. Kirby didn't like that. It wasn't about the football at first. Mario went right at him because Mario's ready to wrestle with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby said that was a Lane Kiffin joke. That Mario stole material from Lane Kiffin because Lane Kiffin had made some kind of comment about Kirby eating too many carbs. So Kirby didn't appreciate the joke stealing from Lane. He said Lane and Mario are best buds. I don't know if that was sarcastic and they're enemies or if they actually are friends.
That had to be sarcastic.
That was sarcastic.
Guys, I got to say, though, I didn't like the look in Kirby Smart's eyes. Maybe it's PTSD. There's this famous origin story of Donald Trump at the media correspondence dinner while Obama was doing a routine, and then you realize that you just changed the course of history for the next 20 years. That's the kind of same vibes that were coming off of Kirby Smart. I didn't like the look. I'm a little intimidated, especially now that he's fixed that horrendous haircut of his.
I'm over Coach Look Twitter after. Remember the Ryan Day smirk? And these Ohio State fans thought we were going to get smoked because Ryan Day was smirking and didn't matter at the end of the day. Ran down their throats. So,
well, they did the same thing with Pete Golding, too. They said that Golding, his body language was way better than Mario's in the press conference.
Yeah. Well, then I saw the photo of Mario Cristobal receiving that fruit basket, and I knew that Carson Beck with his legs was inevitable. But all in all, a great event. Honestly, this needs to be live streamed next year. If this is just going to turn into coach roasting one another, we need access to all of that.
Mike, I want to ask you a question that D and I were discussing the other day, and we were kind of on opposite sides of it. D said that he doesn't think Mario maybe knew that it was being filmed, and that like after it came out, like he was maybe like wishing that it wasn't out there like that. I said, hell no. Mario's very aware of what's going on around him, and he's very cognizant of certain messages that he wants out there. And he wanted this discussion to happen and us to, like, yes, there is the joking about it, but Mario standing his ground the way that he did there in that situation and going back 3 times harder than Kirby came at him, by the way. I think everything he does is intentional, Mike. Like, there's no way he didn't realize there was bright lights. Come on, man. He had to have known.
I believe Coach when he says in the clip, he's like, I didn't know it was going to be like this. Like, I believe
yes,
him,
but I believe that. But once he knew, then he was like, oh, we're playing that ball game. Let's do it then.
No. Mario's ready for the smoke. Like those that know people that know Coach very well know that that's a real Mario there. I'm just astonished that he's letting the world into it, primarily because of how Mario has changed so much since the first couple of years. Now that this team and his culture is where he wants it to be, he's let loose. Like he's the fun guy at the party. Mario was not fun to be around 2 years ago. So I think there's a direct correlation with how loose our head coach is. And, he mentioned this in the interviews. I do think that there is actual, like, something of substance here. Remember the interview? I forget which. Was it with Herbie and Galloway? I'm not exactly sure. But Mario said that after that SMU loss, he realized that he had to do things differently.
The one. Yeah, that was the interview.
That Sunday morning, that post-mortem that we did, we said that this is a huge moment in time for Mario Cristobal, because this is where historically he gets tight and the team just follows its leader. He kind of mentioned that he was on Nick Saban's staff and he maybe leaned a little too much on that templating. And he learned how to handle adversity different, starting with that SMU loss. He had a looser approach, and it worked with this team. Now, we know Mario can dial it up, and he can be a pill to be around if guys are not handling their business. But in that moment in time, Mario realized that he wasn't too stubborn to change. He knew what this specific team needed, and that's growth. I know Mario is on his third head coaching job. He's been in the profession, been around football basically his entire life. But it is interesting to see that he's not one of these coaches that are set in his ways. He's always learning. He's talking to other coaches. He's still trying to pick stuff up, not just tactically, but emotionally and how you manage personalities. I'm super encouraged by that. I love where we are with this head coach. And it's not just because we're national finalists. It's because of how he's acting. I know when that dude is that loose, we got a good team in that locker room.
Yeah, and I'd always heard that him and Kirby were boys just from being together at Alabama. I know at different times, like if there was like a transfer player like that had experience with Georgia, then Mario would talk to Kirby like, hey, what was the story here? And I'm sure, Kirby took a few transfers from us. I'm sure it was a similar kind of deal there. You never know how these things can change overnight with just one bad recruiting battle, but it seemed like they were boys to me. It's also seemed like Mario saw himself more as a peer. I'm sure he always in his head saw himself as a peer of Kirby, but he had more juice, because he just won all those games. So it wasn't like you don't want to get an insult battle with someone that has all the leverage over you, which was to me the best part. And Real Ruiz brought this up here in the chat that they were dunking on the Gators, both of them easily. And FSU was MIA. If Norvell was there, I mean, he would have been torn to shreds. That's the whole thing in comedy. I know I've seen that discussion, like punching down. Like, I'm a big fan of punching down because it's a good angle to punch. Like in UFC, when you punch down, a lot of times they stop the fight. You have good leverage with the punches. So I try to punch down on FSU and UF as much as possible while they're down right now. And like we took shots at UF in Gainesville and then FSU. I mean, they weren't even relevant enough to take shots. But Norvell cannot show his face in something like that, which, Pete, might lead us to our next segment here, because Norvell has gone into hiding. He's in witness protection as he tries to save his program.
Really?
Well, I don't know if he's gone in hiding or they told him you can't come out.
He was placed in hiding. Yeah. Well, basically, Mike. So the story is, and Pete, pull up the story or the tweet or whatever. FSU has a booster tour, Seminole booster tour, where they just basically, go out on the town, go to different places in the state, in the Southeast, where FSU grads congregate and raise money basically, and have little Q&As and meet people. And I will say generally, and our boy Fonzie confirmed this when we chatted, that it's not, these things have not gotten the ROI lately for all schools for how much it costs to travel around and the time you spend. But the bigger issue, according to FSU, because they canceled this event for FSU just this year. And the real reason is they didn't want Norvell to face people who are going to roast him, basically. Like, it's not like he's a guy that's going to raise money. You always want to raise money without him there. That's and again, that the phrasing here is concerns about the marketability of the main attraction, which in that case is Norvell. So they quit.
Can you I really hope it never gets to this point, man. But the jumping through hoops and everything to really refrain from saying it's Mike Norvell is the reason. I mean, all those are some fancy words there.
Yeah,
just the way that it's pieced together. The way that it's pieced together, man.
How? Go ahead and smash that follow button on this account. Considering all the punching down that you do, I can't believe that you don't follow Brendan already, because that's a laugh riot almost every single day. There was a couple of seasons ago where I said, guys, I've been there. I see this. FSU is where Miami was at for a very long time. They're doing all the same mistakes. They're talking themselves into these certain types of players and the certain type of new Miami juice that we all fell for down here. But those comparisons have stopped. Miami has never been down this bad. Miami's been down bad. Miami's been down losing to FIU bad. But I don't think it's ever been this desperate. I don't think that the hopes have ever been this low. They're essentially punting on a season. I know that you're occasionally going to get, the article like, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Ashton Daniels, and Mike Norvell has re-energized this football team. They're trying hard in practice. We know that those are coming, but from a treetop view, everyone knows what's happening here. They're just trying to run the clock out, eat one less year, that buyout, I guess, and save some money over the next year. I mean, this is quite frankly, this is sad. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I just looked up FSU, their season by season records, and I didn't realize this because they had 2 good years spliced in between. But in the last 8 years, it's like pre-COVID. We're talking going to 2018. So 8 years, 6 losing seasons, not 500. Losing seasons in 6 of the last 8 years. I mean, yeah, we've never been down that bad. That's
bad. And it's like 2-win seasons. Like, dude, yeah. I don't ever want them to come back. I know that the day will, but it seems like from where I'm standing right now, it seems like it's a long ways away.
Well, listen, I think they will to a certain degree as well. But bottom line is, when you look at, and no one knows what anyone's real financials are, but it's got to be the Moneyball approach. It's got to be a Moneyball approach. But it looks like
right. So this is where
how are you capped at that point in this era?
Well, a Moneyball approach in college football means that you get a famous developer of talent, some guy that turns 3 stars into 5 stars, and that just doesn't work in today's day and age. Like, Billy Napier was that guy, right? And it didn't work out for Florida. He even famously said, like, I look to turn 3 stars into 5 stars. It's just Mike Norvell's not a developer of talent. Like, who is, like, he's had impacts on transfers. He got lucky with Jordan Travis. Like, who has he developed? Darrell Jackson even took a step back when he got over there. Who has gone to FSU and gotten better? these players out of high school are making a bad decision if they're going over there to develop their talent. Their identity is like, let's get hot in the transfer portal, and their brain is so down bad and they're broke right now that they can't do that. I look, there are certain schools that need to work within the Moneyball confines. I can't believe that we're having that conversation about FSU, but if that is indeed the approach that they have to go from here on out while their financials are this bad, boy, do they have the wrong guy.
I mean, I'm thinking out loud because they're not going to go hire a bit unless the financial situation is, which they spoke by not firing him this year as to what the financial situation is, right? Unless it's some crazy booster comes out of nowhere and infuses some money into it there, or they go private equity or something like that, right? Then they're not going to be able to hire a top of the line coach because that coach isn't going to want to come there if they know they can't spend money on the players. So that is where I'm just looking ahead if I'm in their shoes saying we're screwed.
You know, I think there's a couple issues with the Moneyball analogy. The main one is Moneyball is about being smarter than your opponents. And we're talking about Florida State University. So never had the words smarter than the others and FSU been used in the same sentence. So that is kind of like a fundamental problem with the Moneyball approach. You know, my whole thing with FSU right now is there's been a big movement, and you've seen it with like the Cleveland professional team, Washington, to get these Native American mascots off the logo because something about the logo or the name is offensive to the Native Americans or to the specific tribe. In FSU's case, I don't know if the logo itself or the name is so offensive. I think the issue is that the Seminole tribe never surrendered. They never signed a treaty with the United States. They never surrendered. That is their whole identity.
Cool.
It's
cool,
not
branding.
quitting. But with Florida State, they've quit on their program. They've lost losing seasons in 6 of the last 8 years. They're keeping their coach because they can't afford to fire him. They brought back the band in terms of the portal. They got Auburn's back at quarterback. They're punting on this season. They're punting on their program. They're punting on really the future of college football in that school because everything is moving fast and they're getting left behind. I don't see how they can use the Seminole name and not offend a whole nation of people that don't quit, that keep pushing. Their brand right now is quitting. So I don't know if they should change to another quitting related brand, but Seminole mismatches with Florida State right now.
It's even worse than that. We've been in these rooms. We've been in these lounges. They're losing the actual Seminoles. They're losing the tribal chiefs. Like the brand is that down bad. It shares their tribal name, and they're headed to Miami Gardens for the big games. They're in the Hurricane Lounge. You know, they're at the Light. So, you know, I think there's something to it. Boys, I have a very exciting development here. It seems as though El Big List has staying power. And I know it's the off season, so it's a little bit more difficult to generate these El Big List. So I came with a completely random one, but I think it's going to be fun. And I want to see the community engagement here in the comments section, because for today's El Big List, I'm doing random forces of nature. All right. These are guys that aren't elite talents that for whatever reason, be it in a specific time or scenario, they found themselves undeniable, unstoppable. All right. Irresistible. You get where I'm going with this?
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the vision.
All right. First things first, because there's about like 3 different guys that can claim this title. All right. I think I landed on the one, but we can have a healthy debate here. Number 5 on random, irresistible, unstoppable forces. The Thad Franklin 2-yard dive. That is number 5 on El Big List. Now, the real decision for me here, Pete and D, was, is Thad Franklin that guy? Or is Gus Edwards that guy? Or is Damian Berry that guy? Now, you ventured in our private chat, Damian Berry. However, Damian would occasionally pull away for 15 to 20 yards after he wore these guys down. Thad never did that. If you needed a yard, Thad would give you 2. If you needed 3 yards, Thad would give you 2.
Yeah, his yards per carry was closest to 2 of all those names we mentioned. So that fits what you're talking about there. Gus, it was funny when Gus was here, everybody complained he didn't run big enough. He was always kind of running too high and getting stopped in those short yardage situations. Then he goes to the pros, and he's one of the highest paid backs we put out since the glory days. So
yeah, he's still working. It's crazy. He's still a pro.
So yeah,
I can't believe that's what became of Gus Edwards, given what we saw of him down here. He wasn't very good down here, and then he had a nice career at Rutgers, and he's still somehow in the pros.
Yep.
Mike, I'll say this about Thad Franklin. I remember D saying he was the closest thing to Frank Gore in high school that we've seen.
Old Frank Gore. Well, I said, hold on. I said he was like old Frank Gore, like Buffalo Bills Frank Gore. Not Miami.
I didn't remember that part of it. I remember you saying as a high school player.
Look it up. I said he's like the slow Frank Gore, the old Frank Gore. He got a little heavy, old Thad. Weight is a big deal. We're learning here, just being in shape. Some of these guys in high school, at least the players that aren't in shape in high school, sometimes they pull an as Cooper and they lose weight. A lot of times they just kind of stay that way. So I think with that class, Thad. I was going to also say Big Baby Seymour was like that because he had a terrible physique in high school, but he ended up being good 6 years later. He's in Texas right now, Mike.
Texas, yeah.
Well, I mean, Thad is draft eligible. Thad just wrapped things up over at FAMU, and he had a nice little career over at FAMU. So hopefully he gets his name called on draft day, and we can all wax poetic about the 2-yard unstoppable dive of Thad Franklin. Number 4 on El Big list. This one got crowdsourced by our good friend Kevin Clark, and he was right on the money with this. Number 4, random unstoppable force, Theron Collier punt returns against the worst teams in the ACC.
Unbelievable. He was great at those. Another guy who, maybe didn't have the best physique in the world. We're seeing a trend with some of these guys from this era. They're not really from the past 20 years. A lot of guys are not in peak physical condition. I would say old Pimp Collier, one of those.
El Pimp.
Yeah. But yeah, man, he would have like against like the Virginias of the world on a 12 o'clocker. He was liable to take that to the house. So yeah, Pimp Collier, that was a good one. I like that one.
He had one against Virginia that was sick.
Yeah. Look, there's 2 things that you don't want to see at high noon inside the ACC. Number 1 is Bobby Dodd Stadium, 100%. Number 2, it's the Ron Collier on a punt return when you yourself are also a mid-team being forced to play in the noon window. The Ron Collier. Which Hall of Famer did you compare Theron Collier to during your scouting days, D-Money?
I don't know. I didn't compare him to anybody, but I met his family. I don't know if it was his sister or his mom. Her name was Strawberry. Very nice lady.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Strawberry. I don't know if it was the mom or the sister, but she was very nice. I met her at practice. I forgot which one was. I met them both, but I forgot which one was named Strawberry. He was a tough player, man. I think, again, he just wasn't the fastest guy for being a smaller guy. So you had to be like in really, really good shape. Kirk made a good point. He's similar to like a Malachi. Just Malachi maximizes every, bit of talent he has in terms of the physical. So that's why Malachi is so special. Whereas Collier, he'd save it for that one game on.
He would save it for Wake at noon on Raycom Sports. Raycom Sports Hall of Famer Theron Collier. Shout out to Strawberry Collier.
You know that Treon Harris and Theron Collier were brothers. You remember that, D?
Yeah, I do.
By the way, Pete, how did we just find out that Shelton Henderson is nephews of Eric?
D, we haven't talked about it on the show.
Yeah, crazy.
Eric Dickerson's nephew. What? I gotta figure out. It's blood apparently, but I gotta see if it's like his legit, just like his straight up uncle.
I don't want to hijack this discussion of El List. We're gonna finish El List, but you brought up fast running backs from the yesteryear. Mike, I sent you this video. Pete, I sent you this video. I wanted to get your thoughts. Mike, as a parent, I know we have parents in the chat listening to the show. What should happen here? How I should treat the situation. So February is Black History Month. So Miami-Dade public schools, my kid goes to one. They do like celebration. I think most schools do, where you pick somebody of African-American descent to talk about. And in my kids' class, they did it by decades. And my son loves running backs. It's his favorite position. He's 9 years old. He loves the running back position, studies the running back position. Loves Saquon Barkley in the current era, Mark Fletcher, all those guys. So he got the 70s. So immediately he goes, all right, well, I have to pick somebody in the 70s. So he volunteered O.J. Simpson as his project with his teacher. And I found out, I'm taking him to basketball practice yesterday. I filmed the conversation. I sent it to you guys so you can verify. I'm like, why'd you pick O.J. Simpson? He said, well, he's a really good running back. Did your teacher say anything? So apparently he can only talk about OJ in the 70s. He can't talk about OJ past the 70s, but he can do the presentation on OJ of just the 70s. And then later on that day when I got home, I'm with him at we're watching the Canes basketball game, and I wanted to follow up. I'm like, so Jack, did you do any research on OJ? Because these kids have Google now, so they can kind of research these things. I'm like, did you have OJ? Like, did you do any research on him? And he goes, I did do some research on OJ. And what was interesting was that I swear to God, this is 100% true. He goes, the year that he ran for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season, he had -3 passing yards. I'm like, oh, so that's what you found in your research. He's like, yeah, -3 passing yards the year he ran for 2,000. Sure enough, I looked it up. It's true. It's a true fact. He had -3 passing yards when he ran for 2,000 yards in a 14-game season. I think he only limited his research to the statistical profile of the juice, but he was shocked to find out when my wife was horrified and told him that, he committed allegedly. Actually, I shouldn't even say allegedly. It was proven. He was found not guilty, but was accused of a double murder of his wife.
A great Kendall man, O.J. Simpson as well.
I want to classify as that. Was found guilty in the civil trial and became
found liable. But found liable. We call that liable.
You know how those civil trials go.
Yeah, it was clearly a witch hunt. Moving on, number 3 on L Big List, Matt Bosher on kick coverage.
Oh yeah,
love it.
Unstoppable force. Honestly, there were times that I said, "Why is he punting? He should just be gunner." And Matt Bosher, that one brings a smile to my face. We randomly had some like goons at punter. Like we had guys that can lay some wood. I know Headley would run downfield occasionally, put a shoulder into somebody. Like a good run. But never a good sign when the punter sticks out. I remember the first interview that we had with Al Golden, his second year in Coral Gables. We asked him, "Hey, who's flashing out at Green Tree?"
What a year!
We asked him, "Hey, who's flashing out at Green Tree? Who's going to really like surprise people?" And he's like, credit to him, he was right about this. Pat O'Donnell.
Oh yeah.
He's like, man, this punter is outrageous.
Did Pat O'Donnell was he
from Cincinnati?
He transferred
in
Cincinnati,
and then he ended up going on and being the most freakish punter of all time in the combine.
Yeah,
he nailed it, but probably a bad
saw him in
time.
Chicago because he played for the Bears. He was I saw him in Chicago at the Canes Sweet 16 against Iowa State that we won, and then we lost to Kansas the next round. But he was out there in my section.
He was at a game this season. Miami special teams hangs around. Shout out Todd Sievers with one of the more money kicks of all time in that Fiesta Bowl.
He was at one of these playoff games.
Yeah,
either Cotton Bowl or Fiesta. He was at one. I saw him.
Yeah, he was at the Fiesta Bowl. He was at our tailgate. Shout out Todd Sievers. Which, in my mind, that kick that he had to send the game into overtime against Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl, I thought it was a 55-yarder. Back then, it was like a 38-yarder, like a 40-yarder or something like that. But college kicking back then was a lot different. Number 2, now, admittedly, the other guys on this list, even though Bosher had a stint in the pros, not the greatest players, right? This guy was actually like a legit stud. The NFL career didn't go the way that we expected, dealt with some injuries, but you guys remember those Mark Richt teams and how good our tight ends were? The Chris Herndon dump off into the flats that would always go for 20 plus yards. Chris Herndon on those dump off passes, and Njoku would also find himself into this mix too. Although those had a little bit more blocking ahead of him. Herndon was just always there for you in the flats and would always churn it up upfield and surprise you. That was such a money play for us in 2017, D.
Golden found some good tight ends, man. Between Njoku and Herndon. Well, Clive Walford was actually Shannon, but Clive Walford was really good.
Yeah.
We had Bo Sandland in the mix, who sucked for us, but ended up getting drafted. But yeah, Herndon, he really had a good ability with the ball in his hands. I thought he was going to be a stud pro. He's an FRM guy. Had some demons off the field, which I think submarined him a little bit. But he was awesome.
Honestly, he got banged up too, man, early.
It was all those passes that he caught in the flats. The guy had to go through all the levels of the defense to make an impact. He was a good player. It's a shame the NFL didn't work out that way. I guess D alluded to some of the things that went over there. And number one is the inspiration for this list. I'm still having debates about Carson Beck or Brock Berlin. Drive for your life. And these are fascinating conversations. But the answer is undoubtedly Brock Berlin. Because there was one unstoppable thing about Brock Berlin. When you put him in obvious passing situations, high tempo, and in the shotgun, Brock Berlin was unstoppable. Number one on El Big List random forces of nature of the last 25 years.
So the Brock Berlin shotgun thing. So I thought deeply about this. So I was around on the message boards when this was the trending topic, the Brock and the shotgun. And now with the benefit of hindsight, we're talking about 22 plus years, older, wiser, more chiseled chin, just being a little older. I realized that what happened here was we were so dominant that we assumed we'd be dominant forever. And when the cracks started to show, and they started to show pretty quick with Coker, basically 2002, we were like, all right, well, we don't want this to be the total collapse. We want to look for some hope and some silver lining. And with Brock, first, when Brock sucked, it was Brock sucks. Then it was, Brock didn't even suck. It was that the offense didn't suit him and he should have been in the shotgun. So we just got to get a new offensive coordinator. We'll be spick and span. And then ultimately what happened was he was part of a decline with the program overall. So he was better in shotgun. I will grant it. He was small. He was a prolific passer in Shreveport, number one quarterback in the country, put up insane numbers in the shotgun. There was something to it. I'm not saying there wasn't anything to it, but I think we over romanticized that because we were holding on and we didn't want to admit that the whole thing was crashing down. And now that we know that whole thing was crashing down, I think part of the problem was we weren't stacking quarterbacks as good as Dorsey every year. And in fact, Brock was way better than what came after him until we got to, the more recent years. So there's something to it, but I think a lot of that was what the kids call cope nowadays. I've learned that word, cope.
I think Brock was probably born 10 years too early because he's a little bit more suited for where the game eventually went, even though Spurrier's offense was always kind of at the cutting edge of that stuff. Brock's interesting because you'll have one segment of the population will be like, man, that guy was mad overrated. And it's people that uphold the standard and associate him taking snaps under center as a program declined. And then there's this other segment of the population that experienced like the following 20 years of Miami Hurricanes football that said, man, that guy never lost to Florida State or Florida. Then when he was in the shotgun, he was money. He wasn't half bad, Brock Berlin. So it's weird. There isn't anybody that's like in the middle that's like, yeah, Brock Berlin was fine. You won't find those people.
He started a game in the pros. So he's an undrafted free agent, started a game in the pros. I think it's kind of what he is, just kind of that level of guy. Loves the Canes. He was the guest picker, guest captain at the Gator game. Looked great. Looked phenomenal. So, we like Brock on this show. I don't want to diminish him.
He start for the Rams?
He started a game for the Rams. We're doing the whole Beck Berlin thing. I mean, Beck is like an actual good quarterback, like that would elevate every team in the country.
Beck's
he's
a much better
good
quarterback. Beck's a much better quarterback than Brock Berlin. Let the record show. But drive for your life. Obvious passing situation. High tempo. Give me Brock Berlin. You know who else started for the Rams? And this is honestly one of the most disastrous starts I've ever seen. He ended up getting pulled because he just didn't know the playbook at all. It was embarrassing. It was like, you remember that Josh Freeman start for Minnesota on Monday Night Football where everybody's like, what is he doing out there? Scott Covington started a primetime game for the Rams, and it was disastrous. We never saw him again. I was a big Covington guy.
Big, good arm. The big debate was always him and Clement. Clement was kind of like the gritty guy, you know, that everybody. I remember first it was Clement against Collins and all that gritty stuff. You know, there's a little subtext there with all that kind of gym rat stuff. But then it was him against Covington, and they said the same thing. Covington represented the bigger, stronger armed, more prototypical guy. Clement was just a tough kind of winner, although we didn't really win that much with him. But yeah, those were dark times, man. I like this whole portal era where we're handed from Ward to Beck to Mensa. This is going to be an interesting combine for Beck. I think Beck has a chance to really, really cement himself because it's going to be him. It's going to be Ty Simpson. It's going to be Drew Aller. It's going to be Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier. And I think they're all going to be next to each other throwing. It seems like I haven't heard the reporting on it. I'm assuming they're all going to throw. He's going to be bigger than those guys except for Aller. He's going to have a stronger arm than all those guys except for Aller. He's going to be more accurate than Aller. And then when people go back and look at the tape, you know, he's winning the games and he has experience, which is proven to play in the NFL. So I could see if Beck goes there and just kind of like traits mogs the rest of the guys that are there, he'll set himself up for a rise because then people will go back and be like, wait a minute, 37-6, dealt with adversity.
He's going to trade Max at the combine. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. I got him going to Cleveland, just everything that we know about his relationship with Todd Monk, and I got him going surprisingly early. I saw that news item about Aller throwing at the combine. That's very smart for him in a weaker class. There's been enough distance from any of his playing time so people can kind of forget that he was absolute garbage. And he'll look good in shorts and he'll have a big arm. And, you know, he's a tall white guy that wears a headband. I'm sure a lot of people will talk themselves into it, and he's probably going to go impossibly early and then inevitably disappoint everybody. If I'm tasked with finding a quarterback and the option is Carson Beck or Drew Aller, you know, the white guy that's big with a big arm and the headband, that's tough to pass up. But I think I'm going Carson Beck here.
They both have like scandals where their text messages gets intercepted, trying to get females to meet up.
Yeah. Or just actual interceptions too. Both not like the best parts of their game. But at least Carson Beck exceeded wild expectations, where Drew Aller did nothing but disappoint at every turn. It's kind of crazy. I don't understand it, but big stiff whites, they love him in the NFL. He does look the part. Any hoodles. That's our draft breakdown for the week.
Big stiff whites.
Big stiff whites. It's a huge part of the game.
Do you think Beck would help himself by wearing a headband?
No, I actually don't think so at all. I mean, Beck is a very smart guy. And I do think that coaches, once they start talking ball with him, are going to have a deeper appreciation for what he brings to the table. It's an underrated part. I mean, Beck is such a lightning rod for negativity. Ultimately, I've always thought it comes down to his face. People just don't like his face for whatever reason, and they don't want to give him credit where it's due. And I think the part that's most overlooked is how smart Carson Beck is as a player. We made that run, and honestly, like outside of Carson Beck with his legs, his biggest contribution was not putting the ball in his own hands, checking out of it and knowing what was working and getting in Dawson's ear. Like at College Station, Carson Beck statistically did not have a good game. The weather certainly made him a little bit more timid, but in terms of a coach on the field, he did he had a big time contribution in that game. And in retrospect, that was a very difficult game for Miami to win. And it was all the quarterback saying, I don't need to be the star here. Let's give it to Fletch.
Yeah, peak journalism, Carson Beck, headband or no, from Josh Gross. He looked like a tennis player with the headband.
That's typically how it goes. Federer rocks a headband quite well. But now Taylor Fritz, American.
That guy that killed the Canes for Virginia wore a headband.
Padula?
No, he was like he had alopecia.
Didn't he? Yeah, the white, right? Man, that dude was slender. Very small shoulders. I didn't like his build whatsoever.
Didn't he have like a t-shirt on?
Yeah,
It's
but
like
he was
fat kids that wear t-shirts in the pool. You got to hide the slim shoulders with under the uniform.
I went to career day for for my daughter's school. By the way, shout out to Kane's Insight. You know, I used to work for ESPN, have this big time national show, but honestly, I get more recognized for what I do here because the passion for the brand is such. So shout out to all the parents and faculty that appreciate all the great work that Peter and D Money do. It allows me to grift off of their stellar talents and has made me. Yeah, you've made me culturally relevant here, so I appreciate that. But my daughter has a Malachi Tony jersey, and it's the number 10. And I know you've probably discussed this.
Actually, so we're chatting with Kevin Clark, you know, who was on the Scott Van Pelt show yesterday, as his wife reported some breaking news on Bill Gates for the Wall Street Journal, and he was talking about all the journalistic things going on. I'm like, well, you know, I'm going live in 5 minutes to talk about Malachi Tony changing his jersey number from 10 to 1 at 3:00 in the afternoon. So yeah, we covered that breaking news expertly, ethically, tastefully, and with the utmost journalistic integrity for the seriousness that the topic deserved.
Now, have you thought about the little people that are stuck with their Malachi Tony 10 jerseys? In my case,
I called this happening. I mean, I've said this for 2 months that he has to do this for business reasons. No other reason.
He does get actual cash for jersey sales. I know that from when I went to the team store and purchased that number 10 jersey. Now, I'm not so bummed about this because a Malachi 10, I do think will ring eternal. That freshman year was so special. He had so many moments. Like, people will go back and put out like YouTube highlight reels set to dubstep, and it's just Malachi Tony, like number 10 highlights.
People are going to want that jersey, and you better get it now if it's still out there, because guess what? That's not going to be what they sell after the season.
So I'm excited about this number 1 thing. Now, for those that don't know, Mario was going for something with the number 1 jersey. Like, he didn't just want to give it to JoJo Trader or Mo Torre. They had to earn it. And when people showed up to, fall camp, everybody else had jersey numbers on their nameplates, not JoJo, not Mo Torre. They had to earn it. And then JoJo, straight up, because of injury and ineffectiveness, he didn't earn it, but he got it anyways. And I bet you Mario Cristobal regrets that, because he was trying to generate something, go from Cam Ward to someone else that would uphold the new tradition of that number 1 jersey at the University of Miami meaning something, and you can tap back into all the greats that have worn that jersey in the past. Malachi Tony will uphold a standard if there is one. He will set a new one when it comes to this jersey. And I do like that this can be a thing. But let's not have an erasure here. Let's remember what JoJo Torre did, what JoJo Trader did to this jersey. Mo Torre died for us. All right. Mo Torre, he earned the number 1 in College Station. He died for us. All right. I'm good with Mo Torre having the number 1. After that hit and breaking up that pass, Mo Torre, you were in the number 1 right then and there. But, I'm out here trying to uphold the standard. There's a new standard being set in that number 1 jersey, and it begins with Malachi Tony's sophomore season.
I'm with it. I mean, I hate the fact that Mensa is going to wear number 10. So now if someone wears a number 10 Mally jersey, they're going to be like, oh, it's a Mensa jersey. Oh, no, he's too poor to get the new jerseys. So he's got the 10. It's not a throwback yet. I think it's going to go on the shelf for a while. The problem is, once it's cool again, it's going to be too small for these kids to wear. Like, I bought 3 of these things. I got Malachi Tony jerseys everywhere, and I can't use them. So
has this ever happened to you before? Has this ever happened to you before, where you buy a jersey and almost immediately there's a jersey change, either a total logo change and the player never even actually wears that incarnation of the jersey, or they decide to change a number? Because I've got a random one with a Canes tie-in that this happened to me with.
Let's go. Tell me about it.
My wife loves Sheldrick Redwine. And Sheldrick Redwine was drafted was signed to the Cleveland Browns. And so it was like a match made in heaven, because at the time I was a huge Cleveland Browns fan. They were wearing these hideous jerseys at the time. The ones with Cleveland across the chest and the weird piping. But I was in. I was a big Sheldrick Redwine guy. Got this jersey for my wife, number 39. And he ended up making the team. And when he made the regular season roster, he changed his number right then and there. Now, his pro career was so ineffective that I couldn't tell you the number that he changed into, but it certainly wasn't the one that I had in that jersey. And that's still hanging up somewhere. That's a collector's item. A Sheldrick red wine preseason number 39 jersey at the Cleveland Browns.
That was a tough number too.
For me,
a fan of go ahead, Pete.
No, go ahead, finish. I was
gonna
ask you
which
fan
jersey of Cavs and like red wine itself, like the product.
Yeah. Now it's just a wine drinker's jersey, which is fine. No one his pro career was such a nothing burger that.
But hey, he's still bouncing around.
Oh, he's coaching now. He's down locally.
No, but he was also on the practice squad for someone at some point during the year. And from what I understand, he was still posting practice clips the other day.
Oh, well, I mean, no disrespect.
NFL, so
look, we're not going to turn this around on me. You can't accuse me of being anti Sheldrick red wine when I got a red wine Cleveland Browns jersey hanging up in my closet. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm a big Sheldrick red wine.
Sounded like you were giving up on the dream a little bit.
Pro career didn't turn out the way that I thought, which I thought at that point, given my takes of the 2018 Miami Hurricanes headed into that season, where I had Malik Rozier as a sneaky Heisman candidate. He didn't exactly live up to my hopes and expectations when I made that purchase, and I was properly pissed off when he decided to change his jersey number. But let you and the audience know right now, big Sheldrick red wine guy. One of my favorite players. What a smile on that kid. Impactful. Real nose for the ball. Great safety tandem with Jaquan Johnson.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a red wine jersey, but I might have a jersey that says Papas on the back for Papa's alternative.
Papa's alt.
Papa's alt.
You still owe me a case. You still owe me a case.
I got so many in my house. I know you don't cross past Killian. What's that big twisty little set of highways you got by your house? By Miami,
Snapper Creek. We got the
winningest highway in America, man.
Oh, that one right there, man. You never crossed that thing, but if you did to come to Miami Beach, which, by the way, Pete, I don't know if you noticed, the Florida Panthers, after becoming American heroes, winning the gold medal, or not the Florida Panthers, sorry, the United Team USA with a couple prominent ones, or one prominent one.
Man, I'm
not even buzzing. I'm drinking coffee, but when the Team USA crossed into the United States, they went straight to Miami Beach, Florida. They didn't go to Glenvar Heights, didn't go to Kendall. But I'm just saying. Anyways, when you go to Miami Beach,
how was that double-decker bus received out in South Beach as people were, stumbling out of mangoes? Do you think anybody was like, "Hey, there's Tage Thompson"?
Oh yeah. This is a very patriotic area of Miami Beach, man. People love it.
They knew what was going on. All the Europeans there knew which Hughes brother they were looking at.
The real ones knew. The Miami Beach residents knew, and they probably toasted their Papa's alternative brew, 7.5 to 10 milligrams of THC. Get the sticky IPA, the Lucky Lager, the American Unwind, the Buzz without the booze. Go to Papa's Alt Brews, CANES, Canes, for 25% off. They got real hops in there. Taste the hops, skip the booze, keep the buzz. That's the trick. It's a non-alcoholic beer, so it tastes like beer. Doesn't have the alcohol, but it keeps the buzz with 7.5 to 10 milligrams of THC. Perfect for an easygoing buzz and a crisp, hoppy flavor without the sugar overload of typical edibles or the side effects of alcohol. It's how you relax without compromise. Papa's alternative brew.
Wow.
I was gonna say that the jersey.
Where'd you go?
I'm here. I clicked the wrong camera thing. The jersey that was kind of obsolete after a short period of time for me. Lance Stevenson, after he signed the 3-year deal with the Hornets, they let him go after 1 year. I had his Hornets jersey, one of my favorites.
What about the Michael Vick jersey you wore? We were talking when I told you about
I was a huge Falcons fan growing up, huge Mike Vick fan. I had his, and I've said this on the show before, I had his Virginia Tech jersey, dressed up as Mike Vick 1 year, maybe a year or two after the, as we say all the time, D should never have been even considered to be a crime. That what happened there.
I love dogs. I'm on the record. I love dogs. He paid his debt though. Moving on.
He was a dog. He got ran for 1,000 yards at quarterback.
Yeah.
Had never been done.
Lock me in the kennel, baby. He's a dog. Dude, I would dress up as Mike Vick every couple years. Dressed up as him in school 1 year. I had the OG, that red with the black Falcon, just black Falcon jersey. Vick rookie year. Warg Dunn, TJ Duckett, Algie Crumpler, Brian Finneran era. And then I had the new school Falcons jersey as well. Great player. I mean, those weren't obsolete. Those were legendary is what they were. So, you know what? I might have, hold on 1 second.
Let's bring it out. Let's bring it out, Pete. Let's go find it. Let's go find it here.
Yeah, I wanted to actually go in there closet diving for the red wine jersey, see if I got the number right too.
Yeah, let's go.
I got to be the only person that has that.
Oh yeah, that you know what though?
That's a regrettable.
Pete,
when you buy that,
Pete.
He's a Gator.
He's a Gator, Pete. You're putting a Gator jersey on this show.
Yeah,
that's
he's a Gator. Come on, how could you do that?
Pete.
He's a Gator. That's the only issue that we have with it.
All right, there we go. I can tell that was your youth jersey because that one's tight. That one's tight right there. Man, those black jerseys were so cool when he first came in the league. Oh yeah, the VTech. Yeah, that's technically a rival, but
not technically. It's a rival.
Yeah, but that was a cool jersey. I couldn't hate Vic too much when he's at VTech. We were terrible too.
Who's a player on an opposing team that you would consider getting a jersey of? Like from one of your rivals
to the Canes?
From a rival.
I mean, I couldn't. College football, I wouldn't. Football, I wouldn't. No.
I couldn't. But who's the I know that you're a guy that is respectful of like opposing players that are absolute great players. Like I know that. There's a running theme here. There's a running theme. I can
keep bringing them out, baby. I can keep bringing them out now.
So for those listed on radio, Pete has brought in succession an Aaron Hernandez jersey, multiple Michael Vick jerseys, and then I was like, all right, well, I knew about those. But then he surprises me and pulls out a 1985-86 Doc Gooden Mets jersey. That one I didn't expect, Mike. I didn't know Pete had that one in his bag.
It's a bad locker room that he's cultivating. When your good locker room guy is Lance Stevenson, I think you got an issue here, Pete.
I didn't know what he was going to come up with next, man. That Doc Gooden was a shocker. He's digging. I could tell. He's Sports to say, let's do a jersey with Pete episode. Doc, man. Oh, here we go.
This is the sports with the. This is sports. This is that episode right now. Pete is totally
rest in peace, Jevin Sneed, man. Rest in peace, Jevin Sneed. I've been trying to, dude. I'm telling you, I was a huge Jevin Sneed fan after, some of the great years there. Rest in peace. I got
Pray for Doc Gooden, man. You had Aaron Hernandez. You got Sneed out there, man. There's a cursed little crew right here.
I got more with that. I got more. Ooh, I got that mustard yellow and brown Brandon Marshall Broncos.
More off-field concerns. This is great. This is fantastic.
Some light domestic violence, but I think he's clean. He does a podcast.
No, he's recovered. Look, you pay your debt to society to the point that Michael Vick did. We're ready to move on. That's how.
Did his wife try to stab him with scissors? If I recall.
No, there was. Well, yeah, but then he said that a lamp broke. He took the fall for whatever happened there.
What a gentleman.
Yeah.
So his wife tried to stab him with scissors, and he blamed it on a lamp breaking.
Knox Kane saying that Hernandez jersey is crazy. It was his rookie year. That's what makes it so rare. The 85, man.
Yeah, he's a serial killer.
Yeah, we need Mendoza to keep it together because there was never a Puerto Rican player and there was never a Cuban player. The Puerto Rican player ends up being incredible. The guy's taking handoffs in the NFL, plus doing everything he does at tight end. Turns out to be a serial killer.
Yeah. Bona fide.
Whereas with Mendoza, so far so good as far as the off the field. Hopefully he can keep it together.
Although similar vibes, does give off like the killer next door type of vibes. There, I said it. But the same way that Kirk Cousins did. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you need to add a Terry Rozier. You need to add a Terry Rozier to the rotation. A Terry Rozier Heat jersey, because I know you like to troll the Miami Heat fans.
That's
you
true.
rock a Rozier Heat jersey, you're getting under folks' skin. You gotta invest in that.
Dude, I got the sickest. Hold on.
Go get it. Go get it, Pete. Let's see what we got here. This is a great segment. People listening on radio are probably like, what in the hell is going on right now? So Pete is getting up and getting jerseys out of his closet. I believe the next one will either be a Libya soccer Gaddafi jersey or
Mike. I got one for Mike. I got one for Mike, and I got one for you, D. I'll go Mike. This is for you, Mike.
Wow. Look at that.
Ready? But look who we got on the back. Brandon Jennings.
Wow.
Now here's one for you, D. I'll pull this one out here for you, my friend.
The Lakers.
Wilt the Stilt, baby.
That, you know what? I'm glad you brought Wilt up. So when my son was talking about picking OJ, some other kid in his class talked about picking Will Chamberlain. And then they're like in the highest squeaky 9-year-old voices are like, oh, you know, my friend Googled him on Google and he slept with 20,000 women. So this innocent project here for Black History Month has turned into a total debacle with some of these kids. They should start assigning people. Don't let them pick. Just pick for them. Just pick for them, you know, because it gets a little too crazy when they got to research it. Although obviously my son's research on OJ was quite incomplete, but it did in fact have a -3 yards passing. I wonder what that was. How do you pass for -3 yards if you're the Juice? You think it was like some kind of trick play and he just threw it behind the line of scrimmage and the guy got tackled?
I guess that's what had happened.
6 yards per carry, and they were stacking the box.
Yeah.
Fellas.
Pete, for those that are just listening on the podcast right now, is holding up a Megan Rapinoe jersey. I don't know what.
No,
that'd be the big Zag right there.
Okay, what? Now, yeah, no, not good.
No, I appreciate that one. What? USA all the way. Come on. Why are we? No, we always root for the U.S. It doesn't matter the politics. We always do that. We don't aggregate Breitbart tiles here.
I rooted for Megan Rapinoe. I'm just not a big soccer fan.
I'm not.
I appreciated that. You were one of the few. And
my thing with women's soccer and men's soccer, it was the women were better at their side than the men were.
They were.
So just as a fan of the winning part, I did side with the women over the men because they won more for the USA. And the men are finishing behind like countries that completely suck. Yeah. And that was offensive to me, like looking up at like Belgium, like, come on, what are we talking about here?
It's all right.
So Pete. USA, at least the women were winning.
Sorry
so to me, I did.
Oh, you're Mike. You're love you, man.
I know you got the Carly Lloyd jersey. It's not the Megan Rapinoe. That's my fault.
No, Hope Solo is the P one.
Yeah. I almost went for a line. I'm not going to do that one. We're moving on. Let's go to before we get to the pop culture stuff of this. Sorry, it's been unavoidable this week, so I don't mean to do that. Real quick, I just noticed that I've left my dog outside for like the entirety of this time. Maybe it's the Mike Vick jerseys that made me decide that I was just going to be really rude to my dog. So
we need Mike Vick around so we don't have these barking on the shows. We got barking on every single show. Can we get? We need bad news kennels to operate in Kendall.
Let's stop. Let's not do that. I'm a dog guy. I know I'm apparently Cubans aren't big dog people here, which is why
big dog people. What's that? Where did that myth start?
Dogs have different uses, you know, companionship, entertainment, you know, there's different.
I got a side story.
British people, by the way, so this was always my thing with Vic. British people were the ones that invented dogfighting. Like our forefathers in this country, as far as the United States, they invented dogfighting. And then when certain people, it gets popular in certain regions with certain people, now it's illegal and it's not cool. They didn't breed the dogs to fight. They were already bred that way.
Right, exactly. It's in them. They want to fight.
I'm not even doing a shtick. I believe this is true. Like, what the hell?
I agree.
When the wrong people are participating in dogfighting, now it's illegal.
Man, look at that. The party pooper's back.
Stop. Just terrible takes.
That's right. The British, the pit.
We love dogs.
The pits were in Britain. You know, in England, they would have the pit bulls fighting bears. It's called bear baiting or bull baiting. Can you imagine imagine a pit bull versus a bear in like an arena?
It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well. Position battles in spring football. Which position group are we looking at in terms of the best position battles? Now, I've got my eye on wide receiver, especially with some of these new recruits coming in here. D, which position battle are you most looking forward to? And I got a sneaky pick, right? I'm going to try to guess. I think you're looking at the trenches. I think you're looking at that old line. You're trying to see who emerges.
Oh, no, that's a given. I think the tackles, the young tackles, really young offensive linemen. So I'm looking at Cantwell and Congdon, Max Buchanan, and I'll throw SJ Alpha-Tuli in there as well, because I think those are guys that are, as far as I know, healthy, ready to rock and roll the entire time. And we'll see how far they can develop, because if they can get to game ready, it'll affect various things. I know SJ, we haven't talked about him a lot in this context, but because Ryan Rodriguez, we assume, will start at center, but he can get hurt. He can be ineffective, although I think he's going to be very good. Maybe you need him at guard. Things happen. So I think SJ, people are too quick to say too small. If he can get the snapping down, which he just didn't snap a lot in high school, so it's a transition, I think he will have that down. He's a great athlete. I don't think the size is going to be as much of a problem as people think with him, because, I mean, looking at the center for the Dolphins, Brewer, guy's the best center in the AFC, and he's tiny. He's smaller than SJ. Kelsey's smaller than SJ. So I think he's athletic enough. I think he plays low enough. I think he's strong enough. I think he's good enough. He just needs.
You think Kelsey's smaller than him?
Yeah. Kelsey was like a 270 at the combine. He was tiny. He was a linebacker, a walk-on linebacker. He was small.
I know he was small, but
Southpaw Canes, and I think Honey takes his dog down. Set it up, Pete. So you, Mike, you have a Whippet, right?
Yes, I do.
And what's Honey?
Honey?
I don't know. Mini Doodle, Golden Doodle, something like that. I don't know. It's all the same.
Was the Whippet like a race dog, or was it born like, what's the
Whippet? Is like a mid-sized greyhound. Greyhounds, larger form, are obviously race dogs, or were down here.
Let's not bring race into this.
Or not. Whippets are. You watch The Simpsons, right?
Yeah.
Santa's Little Helper. That's a Whippet.
Mm-mm.
So you just bought the dog just for, like, it wasn't like a rescue dog of some sort, or like you took it from something. It's just a Whippet.
No, Cynthia had Italian Greyhounds growing up, and I like the breed. I like Greyhounds. I think they're cool looking dogs, but I also wanted something with a little bit more girth that I can like cuddle with. The dog. Even though I'm a Cuban, the dog sleeps in the bed. Right. I'm big into Sunday afternoons watching Left Turns, 20 milligrams, and my dog laying on my lap. So, I wanted a mid-size model. That's where I landed on the Whippet. Been a great dog, 14 years old, starting to slow down a little bit. It's a little sad, but Roma's been fantastic. A great dog. I highly endorse Whippets. They're as fun and outdoorsy as you want them to be. A bit of a slender frame, but very fast. I would love to hear your combine breakdown of the figure eights.
So a Whippet, and what's yours? A doodle? What kind of doodle?
Let me see. It's some sort of doodle. Let me see.
Some sort of doodle.
Oh, yeah.
Doodles? What's a poodle? Like hybrid?
It's like a golden doodle. It's like a mini poodle and a golden doodle.
A mini golden
I think.
Doodle. Let's see who's gonna win this.
No, definitely not. Honey's not a. Honey's feisty, but
here's what I'm seeing.
No chance. Honey's not a finer.
In most scenarios, the mini golden doodle would win, primarily due to build and
mini
bite
golden
mechanics.
Doodle, yeah.
Bite mechanics. Yeah. But it depends heavily on size, temperament, and context.
I'll tell, but Honey's not in fighting shape right now. Honey's puffy right now, and I keep telling my girlfriend this. She's a little bit a bit of denial, but Honey's backside is looking chunkier than it needs to be if we're talking about getting her ready for a fight like this.
Like, I'm a big nature guy. I like preserving the natural habitat, but if we need to tear down the rainforest to power AI for stuff like this, I think it's necessary. Look at this. The Whippet is lighter framed and built for speed, not grappling. How about that? Yeah. When breaking this thing down, they're built for sprinting, sighthound morphology, whereas the Golden Doodle, broader skull, stronger jaw mechanics, heavier coat, and slightly more protective padding. Mm-hmm. In a physical struggle, durability matters. Clear durability edge to the Golden Doodle. Mm-hmm. Might confirm this. I don't know if you've been bitten by the Whippet. They're not structurally built for sustained biting contact, more likely to dart and disengage. Whereas the Golden Doodle with the retriever lineage, mouth strength, and gripping instinct. I don't know if you guys have been bitten by your respective dogs.
No, my dog doesn't bite. You can't hit what you can't catch, though. And that's where the speed advantage comes in here. Let me get Roma for a brief cameo over here. She's got to love her camera time. Looking old as hell right now.
Bring it over. The good.
Are you trying to dog mog me?
Yeah. So, what I'm seeing here is that when it comes, actual serious dogfights between these two breeds are rare because the temperament, Whippets are gentle, non-confrontational. Mini Golden Doodles also generally non-aggressive family dogs. So actual serious dogfights between these breeds are rare unless external stressors are involved. So if we build this fight, we need the external stressors.
Dog maxing here on Kane's Insight today.
Yeah, that jaw is looking slender. Those bite mechanics are looking suspect.
Yeah, we gotta build the brand back up after the cavalcade of Michael Vick jerseys that were brought out over here. Kane's Insight remains a dog friendly show.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice right here. She looks pretty nice.
Now, she was named Roma after my favorite Italian soccer team, the legendary club of Francesco Totti. That's when I thought I was getting an Italian greyhound too, so it made a little bit more sense. But I got to whip it. You want to grab your dog here, Pete? See what kind of
I wanted to, but she's resting, and we got a big training session this afternoon, so I'll let her sleep. If you want to. Roma looks a little tired right now. I gotta say, tired. She doesn't look like she's in fighting condition. She looks a bit scared, I would say, quite frankly.
Her best days are behind her, no doubt.
Did you know the Roma, like gypsies, like Romani, they're actually not from Romania or Rome. They're from northern India, and they moved over to Europe. I think they're from like northern India, maybe from Iran. They're from one of those, one of the I countries. They're not from Romania.
Right. She's named after Rome and the football club in Serie A.
Those guys were innovators when it came to animal fighting.
Not gypsies. No one needed to take it there.
Who took
You're
me
there.
out?
You're still there. I just need to get. We're all here, D. But I need to get a closer look here. I got to see what we're working with here. I need a full screen. We're doing some scouting.
Honestly, put the dog in the thumbnail. You'll see the views go way up.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. She's looking for her way out. She wants to get out of here before we start talking wrestling. All right, baby girl. Sorry I left you outside for so long, and sorry about the Michael Vick thing. She was triggered by that. You should apologize. You want to apologize for all the Michael Vick jerseys you own, Pete? Look her right in her eye.
Well, I'll tell you this, Roma. You could have a wonderful career on this side.
We appreciate that. All right. Let's talk some wrestling.
Let's go. Let's get into it.
We got Elimination Chamber this weekend. Anything you're excited about? Hey, shout out to WWE for getting the AJ Styles thing right. I was a little upset as an AJ Styles fan that they didn't get a formal video tribute and good moment to send off one of the best performers of the 21st century. And I think they finally did that, and they announced that he was going to be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame. That should be enough to keep him away from AEW, right, D?
We saw Michael Thompson, Klay Thompson's dad. He said the correct thing, which is that AJ Styles went straight to the Hall of Fame. They should do the same thing in other sports. Why wait? Put him straight in. Did you see that tweet from Michael Thompson?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that it was the real Michael Thompson.
The pride of Jackson High.
Really?
You didn't know
Miami
that?
Jackson?
Wow, I didn't know. You didn't know that. I got you there.
He's not the pride of Jackson.
Well, you got Lee
Michael
Corso.
Thompson's not the pride of Jackson?
Lee Corso.
The Sunshine Scooter is the pride of Jackson.
Winky Flowers.
But he did go to Jackson.
Well,
make sure that
it's Lee Corso's word. When you close your eyes,
Jackson High.
When you close your eyes and you think of the prototypical Jackson student, I guarantee you're thinking of Lee Corso.
I don't even know, because every time I'm in Alapata these days, all I see are like slightly gothy, like young girls and people at Las Rosas. So my perception of what is in Alapata is distorted.
There's got to be a mural. We got to put up a mural of Lee Corso in.
Oh
Alapata.
Yes, that'd be sick when he's in his Jackson uniform.
I mean, look, you're talking to one of the few people on the planet that have a Lee Corso tattoo. I'm down. I'll honor the Sunshine Scooter, Alapata's finest, no doubt. I mean, for a guy that has roots in Alapata, went to Jackson, was Miami through and through, Indiana and FSU ties. You're killing me here, Lee. The duality of man.
My grandfather went to Jackson High.
Really?
Yeah.
When I close my eyes and I think of your prototypical Jackson High student, it looks a lot like your grandfather.
No, you don't know what my grandfather looks like, so.
Your face.
Did he have light eyes?
You know,
bet
you've
he
already
did.
made some assumptions. I don't want to. I don't want to just give you more info if you're already just gonna assume what he looks like. You know, a lot of assumptions, man.
A lot of assumptions there.
All right. Well, happy month of February to him then. D, it's Elimination Chamber, or as they call it in Germany, No Escape. Not a lot of juice to this PLE. Chicago, hometown to CM Punk and AJ Lee. They're both on the card. Not really all that excited about this card, but it is a PLE. Dude, before we get into my wrestler of the week, I got to tell you, this brand is so down bad right now. And you're such a brand loyalist. It's infuriating because there is a wrestling alternative. And every week they are putting on great shows. We got Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland last Wednesday after a week after one of the best weekly wrestling shows maybe of our lifetimes. AEW is killing it. They got a pay-per-view on the horizon. You got to make the switch, or at least start introducing a healthy dose of AEW to your wrestling diet, because it is far and away the same way that WWE 2 years ago was far and away destroying AEW. It's kind of like that right now. AEW has been so good and WWE has been so bad.
I mean, I'm with you on the WB part. AEW's kind of been the same old thing. I mean, it's fine for what it does. I don't like that they're always on commercials and like places that like sports bars that have TNT on. And then you see, you know, an image of professional wrestling that I think is below the level of class that you want representing the sport and the art form for the masses. But in terms of WB, it's down. I mean, I was watching Natty versus Maxine Dupree on Raw. It was brutal. They're rebranding her. I think you said in the chat, they're rebranding Natty as like a Ronda Rousey, except like not legit. Terrible. I don't get it. I don't get what's going on. It is down bad right now. I will give it to you. Even the AJ Styles thing, I thought was pretty boring, to be honest. I'm happy he got the honor, but it wasn't like it was riveting TV. I was hoping it was like a Mark Henry pink suit deal where
he already did that. He already did that though.
He did.
Yeah. And it set up a 5-star match that he had against Cody. That was when you were lamenting the run. I think history will look back on you being right about Cody not really running with the ball. No, not Chris Cody. About Cody Rhodes not really running with the ball when he was given that. He had a lot of momentum there. The thing is, though, like 2 of his 3 programs headed into that WrestleMania season were against AJ Styles and Kevin Owens, in which he delivered big time matches. The Kevin Owens program, I think, was memorable, just creative, top to bottom in WWE, really squandering all that great momentum where wrestling finally became cool again. And before you can finish that sentence, it seemed like all the momentum was gone, and the death nail, probably the failed John Cena retirement tour with the heel turn that went nowhere. My wrestler of the week. You want to talk about the glory days of professional wrestling? We highlighted cruiserweights and how WWE wanted to have a direct response to what they were doing over in WCW. Well, a big part of the cruiserweight division's success was Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holds. Dean Malenko, terrible promo, but in the ring, pound for pound, as technically gifted a wrestler that you would find in that time. Classic matches with Rey Mysterio. He even had a great rivalry, despite having a complete lack of ability to speak into a microphone. Chris Jericho got this man over. D, I'm sure you remember the man of 1,004 holds.
The best thing ever.
Chris Jericho had basically a wax paper fax printout of all of his moves, all the scrolls, and he gave a promo in which he highlighted several of these moves, going item by item. Move number 17, arm bar. Just classic, a classic program with Dean Malenko. Dean Malenko then later, along with Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, and Perry Saturn, went over to WWF in a land in which guys like Dean Malenko, they didn't really know what to do with. Understandably so. Dean Malenko, if you see him recently, needs to walk with the aid of a walker. Still involved in AEW, I believe, backstage. Was a really good producer and road agent at the time. But this guy, whether it be against Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Ultimo Dragon, and Dean Malenko had a ton of amazing matches. There was a consistent performer throughout that entire time in WCW when it came to the cruiserweights, because those guys took a beating. Dean Malenko, week in, week out, gave a great match, some vegetables with your dessert on Monday night, and I loved him for it. The man of 1,000 holds, the Iceman, Dean Malenko.
Yeah, it was the Cloverleaf. He had some sort of submission.
The Texas Cloverleaf.
The Texas Cloverleaf. I was thinking about this guy the other day because his daughter was in the news, Marie Malenko, trying out for WWE. And I hope they'll give her a fake name, because Marie Malenko is actually a very cool name. So
the Malenko name means something in wrestling. I also saw that a local CCW product got a tryout, Nikki Blackheart, who I think is destined for superstardom.
Yeah, I saw her at one of these shows. I want to go back. I've been missing the last couple just because of like youth sports tournaments and stuff like that. But I did see her in action, and she was awesome. She was over, she looked believable. She was packing a punch. So yeah, shout out to her and that opportunity. I think it'd be a great move for her and for the WWE.
Yeah. Who's your wrestler of the week?
So I got to go with the one thing that's really bringing life to the program right now. Again, I agree with you. It is dead, but this guy is bringing a lot of life. That is Trick Williams, former wide receiver for the South Carolina Gamecocks. And, he's got the entrance with the Whoop That Trick and NXT entrance, which is translated really well to the main roster. The whole crowd does. It's kind of replaced the Yeet for Jey Uso, which is a tough deal for him because that's really what he had going right now.
We can only hope that it's replaced the Yeet.
But with Trick Williams, man, he was given the opportunity to do the media tour for the Elimination Chamber, for the house shows, for all this stuff. So he was on like Memphis local TV, or Louisville, local TV. He was on ESPN. He was with Stephen A. Smith. And this guy was as good on the media tour as I've seen any WWE performer in years. In character, totally, but still over the top. Perfect balance of it. Was cracking everybody up. Every host loved him. He was putting over the program. He was putting over the sport. He was defending the sport against like the Tom Brady thing. He was, which is, those who don't know, Tom Brady made a joke to Logan Paul, like, hey, what you guys do is cute, but you could never play in the NFL. So they were he was defending the business. He was very much in that media tour, an old school wrestler, in that it was himself, but it was himself cranked up, and he was always in character, putting over the next show. And that was I got impression of like when The Rock got interviewed by Jennifer Flowers. Remember Bill Clinton's mistress interviewed The Rock for WrestleMania 14? What a ridiculous thing. And he kind of made his whole persona in those interviews. It was kind of like that, less edgy, but more mainstream. He popped Stephen A. Smith. He was talking about him and Lash Legend, who I'm also a big fan of, longtime fan of, who's his girlfriend.
Fiance.
Also getting over pretty good on the women's side, both college athletes. She was actually better than him. I think she was a first-round pick in the WNBA draft. But he was saying that he wants kids. He likes her because she's fine. He likes her because she treats him good, and then likes her because in 20 years the NIL money is going to be coming in. And Stephen A. Smith popped like inadvertently just because he didn't expect that line. So really, really good stuff from Trick. I think this guy is going to be big time for a long time. Old school and much needed in the current climate of the WWE.
Refreshing, and I'm glad he got the main roster call up. I was starting to get a little worried about Trick because I felt like he had a lot of momentum 2 years ago, much like the entire product, when he was down having great matches with Carmelo Hayes, and Whoop That Trick was like, super over 2 years ago. And then they wanted to play with his character. Ultimately, maybe waited a little too long, although like we saw that he had juice as a heel, and he's even though I think organically the crowd's going to continue to cheer him, and he'll kind of blur the lines between face and heel. Parts of his character that he developed post Carmelo have been infused with where he is now. So I like where he is right now. It was crazy, the reaction that he got in Saudi Arabia. People love this guy. And there was a while there where I saw it, and then I was like kind of worried about him, but I think he's positioned to be a great star. And I think he really does pop in those interviews. I think he has crossover appeal because he's got bona fides too. He can go on the sports shows, and man, I think it's really important to get one of those guys on that Stephen A likes, because it's nice in the early days of this partnership, but 2.5 years into talking to Becky Lynch, well, Stephen A is considering running for president. I don't know if he's going to be able to get up for those, but I saw this interview and I was impressed too. And I think, yeah, we're in strap a rocket to this guy territory with Trick. Hopefully they have something good and interesting with his character to do for WrestleMania, but it's WWE, so they'll probably just have him fight Carmelo Hayes.
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think he's getting that mega push, but we'll see. They need it. All right, song of the week here. And actually, before we switch to the song of the week, let me share a passion of mine, which is the recycling and resale of scrap metal.
I thought he was going to say AI songs.
Those have been very popular. Got a lot of feedback on those songs. A lot of requests for that classic country ballad about Malachi Tony. But Scrap City, scrap-city.com. Recycling is beautiful when hard work turns its real value. I know we got people that work with metal, whether it's AC people, electricians, plumbers, just people that are handy around their house. They got some scrap metal they want to get rid of. At Scrap City, we see more than metal. We see effort, opportunity, and impact. From copper to steel, every piece has a purpose when it's recycled the right way. Fair pricing, responsible processing, and a partner you can trust from start to finish. Turn scrap into something better. Recycle with Scrap City. Call us today, 954-330-9472, or stop by Pompano Beach or Delray Beach. My man, Josh Sarnoff, local legend. He will take care of you guys. Major Canes fan. He's in the chat every day. You're talking to him in the chat every day. You also do business with him and turn that scrap metal into cold, hard cash. Our boy Sports says, I thought I switched tabs.
Yeah, that happens. I was initially not ready for the advertising path that they would go down either, but boy, am I glad that they landed on Canes Insight and a must follow on IG. You too will have a passion for.
You're the most famous follower, I think.
Really?
Yeah, you're prominent on that mutual follow list for Scrap-City.
All right, great. Well, that I'm honored and grateful again for their patronage here on Canes Insight. Thank you to everybody that supports us. That may not even get up for Wednesdays the way that they might have used to one day, but still love Canes talk, especially outside of the season. Hopefully, we entertained you here. D-Money, what is your song of the week?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not my song of the week, but Jamaican Hotel saying song of the week, Freebird. It's funny. Like, I always played the song for my kids because, like, the joke is like they're like we all get to pick songs in the car, and I want to hear like some Korean pop, whatever, or like Eminem or whatever my kids want to play. So I always pick Freebird because it's long. It'll take the whole car ride. So they associate Freebird with me, and they're annoyed. Then they're watching the championship or whatever, the gold medal game, and they're watching all the stuff afterwards. And that Freebird has been playing pretty much for a week. So my revenge has been had. Now they realize this is a great song written by a Florida band in Leonard Skinner, not an Alabama band, Florida's own Leonard Skinner, the best band ever come out of the state by far, Leonard Skinner. But my song of the week, we're not going to Florida. We are going to the country of Chile for Los Angeles Negros. And this is a name, when you see it, you think one thing. This is the Black Angels in Spanish. Okay. So the band is called the Black Angels. Okay. It's a 60s band. They're called the Black Angels. Nothing to do with the city of Los Angeles or people of African descent. This is the Black Angels of Santiago, Chile, or of Chile. I don't know what city they're from. I don't know if they're next to that soccer arena where the guy from There's Something About Mary built. They're from San Carlos, Chile. I'm sorry. And these guys had an incredible fusion of boleros, like rock, like basically like Latin ballads and rock music. They combined it together. It was called Ballad Rock Mantica. And this whole sound is incredible because it's, it's like those Latin ballads, it's kind of like over the top, very emotional, melodramatic, kind of like Elvis really in the 70s, that type of vibe. But then the instrumentation, instead of being like the kind of Latin instrumentation, is rock music. So a very cool blend. Chile, South America in general, huge rock continent. People don't realize that. So I like to encourage people to explore the South American rock scene because that is a very, very fruitful scene. Argentina, Chile, they all love rock and roll. Los Angeles Negros, incredible. They're still touring, these guys, and they're outstanding. As Anthony Guandino points out, the Estadio Olímpico, I'm sure they sold that place out in Santiago, Chile, back in the day.
All right. So Los Angeles Negros.
Yeah, that's what it is. This is a great art band.
Sweet. I am transitioning to my song of the week, which is it's The Game.
Ah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. You realize the position you put me in, huh?
No, it didn't occur to me until right now.
Huh. Yeah. So, the documentary, great album by The Game. Game came out red hot in 04, 05, working with the best producers in the game. Aftermath, Dr. Dre, Love, Hate It or Love It, one of my favorite songs ever with 50 Cent. They beefed. This song came on my I can't believe you did that to me. This song,
I promise.
I said my song first.
I listened to it. Listen to the song. It's a sick song. Listen to the song. And you're like, hey, this is a great song.
I sent my song first. So, Put You on the Game by The Game. Produced by Timbaland. And dude, Timbaland in 2005. It was just, mid-90s Jordan. The best rap production was being done in this era, turn of the century. In 05, it started, getting away from The Game. But when, Pharrell, Manny Fresh, Timbaland were all basically competing. Kanye was starting to get in the mix there at the turn of the century.
Yeah, Dre's
hip-hop production, hip-hop beats, hip-hop sampling was as good as it was. And this is one of the best beats for an artist that has a lot of great beats. Red Nation, an awesome beat. For Game, I think maybe some of the off-field stuff and the fact that he made a lot of enemies in the rap game really cooled this guy. But he came out like a house on fire. He was awesome.
Hate It or Love It, by the way, produced by Cool and Dre from Miami Monsignor Pace High School.
Really,
so the producers on Hate It or Love It. Yes,
one of the great hip hop beats. But this is one of those forgotten beats. I hadn't heard this song in 20 years, and I forgot all about it. And the second that it hit, I knew all the words and Put You on the Game. So I added this to the playlist too. I feel like we've gotten so outlaw country, so folksy, so old and white with our picks lately that I needed to, let's shift us back to some hip hop there. So that's what I did here.
Well, listen, I can always bring some young nudie into the mix if need be.
We're good on the SoundCloud rappers and the mumble rappers.
Listen, he's no sound. Everyone starts somewhere, but I wouldn't categorize them there. Yeah, but anywho,
so yeah, we talked about black music in Los Angeles today. That's what we did.
Chilean rock. That's what it is. Chilean rock. This album was great. I mean, I remember when this guy first came out, he was very hyped because it was like 50 Cent was involved. Dre was kind of involved a little bit.
He was next.
He was famous before he did this was his debut album. So it was very much like one of the first like blue chip type of deals. The album cover, you could tell there was money behind everything he did. Obviously the Kanye was also on this.
Dude, this album's great. Top to bottom great. But he just made so many enemies. Like Hate It or Love It came out, and as soon as it came out, there was news that he and 50 weren't seeing eye to eye anymore.
And really, when you like this album, so this was the soundtrack to a lot of Bad Canes football, Kyle Wright, and things of that nature is what I associate with this album in this era. I listen to it all the time. It was great. The name kind of was a ripoff of Triple H, uncredited. Yeah. So let's call a spade a spade.
Didn't he have to change it to just Game because of Triple H?
Did he really?
Wasn't that a thing?
It might be.
I think so. Let me look that up.
It might be. Triple H had a little more staying power, but that was kind of the first thing. The other thing is he said a lot of like other people's names in his songs. Like his whole rap style was saying other people's names.
Yeah, in 2006, WWE, specifically Triple H, initiated legal action against the rapper The Game regarding the trademark rights to the name The Game, which Triple H had used since 1999. The dispute followed the success of the 2005 debut album, The Documentary. Though the lawsuit ultimately did not result in a major lasting legal battle, I believe that The Game changed his name to just Game. Let me see.
That was the end for old Game.
Mm-hmm.
Game was over at that point. But that was kind of my that was my first thought at that point. It was that the name was ripped off. Then just the style of rapping. He had a great voice, obviously the best beats. But he was just like, if you listen to those songs, all he says is other people's names. Like you look at any lyric, like pull the lyrics of any of his songs and just count, and every single line is someone else's name or like slogan. So it didn't have, to me, enough originality to really last. This album was great because of the production. Really, 50 Cent should have gotten some money on this album because the hooks he had between Hate It or Love It and How We Do, outstanding. His hooks were amazing. With as far as the game, this is kind of the high point of it, but I liked what he did. I liked the choice. This is a cool era of our lives where we're like 20.
Yeah. College still.
Yeah, the Canes have been bad really from then to, a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on now. It's a new era.
Yeah. I'll never forgive you for that setup. And for,
look, check out the band. I'm telling you.
I thought the dogfighting left turn that we took earlier in the show was the most awkward point for me. But no, you outdid yourself there. Can't wait to see you next week, D-Money.
I'm sorry for highlighting Hispanic artists, man. That's what I was trying to do. I really didn't even realize that. But these guys are awesome. I'm telling you. Check out, I won't even say it because my accent's not good enough to make it sound innocent, which it is. But check out the Black Angels, which, by the way, their songs have been sampled by artists like Jay-Z. But yeah, check them out, man. They have some live performances that are sick. South Americans are good at rock.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've gotten into South American rock music lately.
Yeah,
Argentina's got a nice little scene.
Who does?
Argentina's got a nice little scene. There's some good Chilean rock bands too, so I may check this out.
You look at like AC/DC and all these bands. When they do shows out there, they fill and sing out like soccer stadiums with young people.
There's a Chilean electronic band called Rubio that I like. Yeah, I'll check out Los Angeles Negros.
And check out the Canes Insight playlist there on Apple Music. I'm pulling it right now, posting it on Twitter. So check it out. This is, or X, whatever it's called. Is it still retweets? Like, what do they call retweets on X? I know you're a Threads guy. What do they call retweets on X?
No, in fact, follow me right now. I'm super active on X.
Turn it up.
Super active on X. Follow me. Mike Ryan Ruiz, /Patriot.
So check him out on X, Twitter, the whole thing. But anyways.
X is a bit, Threads is me, IG is my favorite.
Like and subscribe to the show. Pete, you got anything to add?
No. Mm-mm.
Wow. And for those listening on the podcast right now, Pete
whatever he's about to say is whatever Mike Ryan is about to say is probably not true unless it's a compliment.
Across his chest. Prideful.
Nothing Wambach related, nothing Rapino related, nothing. Nothing of the sort. Listen, I'm a Sophie Wilson guy. How about that?
Yeah, you're Carly Lloyd. You're definitely Carly Lloyd.
Little Trinity Rodman action.
Love Trinity Rodman. She's at the tennis events. Her and Ben. You want to talk about an NIL baby? Ben Shelton and Trinity Rodman. That's the next great NIL baby.
Like and subscribe to the show. Go Canes.
Go Canes.